Necessity, they say, is the mother of invention. This was exactly the case many decades ago when the U.S. Army invented one of the greatest weapons of all time, the GUA-8 Avenger. The technology behind this creation was so good that it still stands tall today, even competing with newly built military supplies. The history behind the creation of the GUA-8 Avenger, its design, and its capabilities are beyond impressive. Join us as we explore all about the beastly weapon as we proceed and all the other components that make it whole. History of the GAU-8 Avenger. The GAU-8 Avenger's impressive capabilities were developed to address the challenges posed by increasingly advanced adversaries. This massive machine gun, weighing 600 pounds and stretching over 20 feet long, is far from your typical firearm. It was purpose-built for the A-10 Thunderbolt II aircraft, often called the Warthog, with the aircraft's design revolving around this standout weapon. Back in the 1970s, during the intense Cold War rivalry, the Soviets had a solid lineup of armored vehicles, particularly tanks, presenting a daunting challenge on potential European battlefields. Traditional anti-armor tactics were becoming obsolete, necessitating an innovative solution, and that posed a real challenge. The U.S. needed something to counter and take down this threat effectively and quickly. That's when the idea of the GAU-8 Avenger was born. The era of this machine's creation witnessed a rapid proliferation of advanced weaponry as both superpowers vied for supremacy. In the late 1960s and early 1970s, as earlier mentioned, the U.S. faced this period of deep military reflection. Creating a weapon that could withstand intense firepower while stretching an impressive 20 feet in length is not a small deal. The GAU-8, when positioned horizontally, is also comparable in size to a car. However, what makes the Avenger cannon stand out isn't just its size and impressive specs, it also has a reputation that speaks for itself. Veterans who've witnessed it in action love sharing stories of its unmatched performance on the battlefield. The sound of the Avenger firing, that thunderous roar once heard, is something you can't forget. But beyond the noise, the gun is also about precision. This precision comes from a mix of the A-10 aircraft's advanced guidance systems and the Avenger's design. This combo ensured it could hit its target with deadly accuracy, minimizing the damage to surroundings while maxing out the impact on enemy forces. In the world of military aviation, you don't always come across an aircraft built around a weapon. But that's exactly what happened with the A-10 Thunderbolt II, which helps the Avenger with accuracy. It is a plane that fully embraces the might of the machine. The planners realized that the kind of powerful weapon they were building needed a dedicated machine. So the A-10 couldn't just be a plane, it had to be an extension of that gun, a way to deliver its power right on target. This combination gave a whole new meaning to close air support. Ground troops had a flying fortress that could wipe out enemy armor like it was nothing. It was bigger than just having an upper hand. It was about completely changing how battles played out. You'll see this in how the innovation of the machine changed the dynamics of the Cold War. The strength and capabilities of the GAU-8 Avenger. On the horizon, you may see trenches, tanks, helicopters, and planes, all meticulously crafted for survival, evasion, and combat. These are known as the big players in modern warfare, supposedly the peak of human engineering and strategy. But when they're up against an unusual and terrifying challenge, which is the GAU-8 Avenger, it is a question of whether the modern marvels can hold their ground against the Avenger's punishing firepower or crumble. When the Soviets, with their tanks and armored vehicles, posed a significant threat to the U.S. during the Cold War, this question was answered. The machine emerged as the U.S. response to this mechanized challenge and changed the dynamics of the war immediately. Trenches are known to have shielded soldiers from enemy fire in wars past, but against the GAU-8, their effectiveness is uncertain. Helicopters, typically agile and responsive, might see their aerial advantage nullified by the Avenger's accuracy as well. A single well-aimed blast from the GAU-8 could turn any formidable helicopter into a falling wreck. Aircraft that are generally faster and at higher altitudes than helicopters might appear to be safe from the Avenger. However, the A-10 Thunderbolt II, which is the gun's primary platform, is a skilled hunter with advanced tech. Its lethal firepower could threaten even swift aircraft, especially during takeoff and landing. Therefore, in the game of survival, conventional defenses do not cut it anymore. The GAU-8 doesn't just have raw firepower, it has reshaped battlefields, challenged norms, and put adversaries' survivability to the ultimate test. The Avenger isn't just playing the game, it's setting the rules and changing dynamics. Every player, no matter their strength or strategy, must contend with its unrivaled power. The design of the A-10, the GAU-8 Avenger aircraft. As we already know, the Avenger is a pretty unique machine gun. It has 7 barrels that rotate, and each barrel is 30 millimeters wide. It also shoots armor-piercing rounds made from depleted uranium. What's cool about all of this is that it can fire really quickly, up to 3,900 rounds in just a minute. This powerful gun is set up in the front of the aircraft specially made for it, which is the A-10 Thunderbolt II, and popularly called the Warthog. The Avenger is placed slightly off-center to help manage the kickback when firing. This aircraft was meant to be a low-flying tank destroyer that worked closely with ground troops to disrupt enemy formations up front, while high-flying bombers targeted supply lines in the rear. It was purpose-built for close air support, which means being right next to friendly forces and enemy positions. It had to deliver substantial damage to enemies while avoiding hitting our troops. To succeed, it needed specific qualities and had to be resourceful. Simplicity and affordability were key. The Warthog is known to have landed once with damaged wings, a missing engine, and compromised hydraulics. The innovation that went into its design availed it of this opportunity. Its straight-wing design allows for slow and steady flight, perfect for taking out armored stuff. It also has reinforced armor that allows it to take hits and keep on trucking. The placement of the Avenger in it gives pilots super control over aiming and firing the monster of a gun. Stretching about 6 meters long, it sits perfectly under the pilots, and the ammo drum holds around 1,150 rounds of the hefty 30mm shells. These rounds go to the 7 rotating barrels using a linkless firing system. After firing, the shell casings are pulled back to the drum to prevent damage to the aircraft. To power all this, there's a hydraulic engine driven by 2 separate hydraulic systems. If one system fails, the other can still operate the gun. If both systems go down, the A-10 can switch to manual flight control, which is no easy task, but it might help the pilot land safely. The landing gear of the aircraft can also be retracted or extended by 2 different systems. Even if both fail, the gear on the wings doesn't fully retract, making more room for safety. And this is how the safe landing, even in ugly conditions, was achieved the last time. The design of the A-10 also took into account its unique engine placement. The engines are mounted high behind the wings, reducing the intake of dirt and dust from potentially dusty runways on remote airfields where the aircraft may operate. This decision was part of making the aircraft adaptable to less conventional landing sites as well. Its main engines have small engines, known as auxiliary power units or APUs, located in the tails. These APUs allow the A-10 to turn its main engines without external assistance and assist in functions like generating electricity and pumping hydraulic fluid. While it adds weight, having APUs prevents reliance on ground equipment that might not be available in certain scenarios. The fuel tanks are self-sealing as well. They are filled with foam to prevent explosions, and the pilot sits in a titanium tub that can take a hit from armor-piercing rounds. The plane was so carefully made that it has a canopy made of ballistic glass that can handle small arms hits too. However, the A-10 doesn't pull fancy upside-down maneuvers. It does more of handling flak, shrapnel, and missiles. It packs more chaff and flares than regular fighter jets. The chaff confuses radar-controlled missiles, while flares do the same for heat-seeking ones. These can be fired automatically or manually by the pilot. The aircraft design prioritizes firepower and safety. The engine and tail placement might look a bit odd, but it's intentional. This arrangement helps hide the plane's heat signature from infrared-seeking missiles on the ground. The large vertical stabilizers also play a role in keeping the plane steady while it's busy firing the beastly Avenger gun. The improvement made to the machine. So far, As a big machine, the recoil force of the gun is quite powerful, measuring around 40.4 kilonewtons. It's so potent that it can effectively split an aircraft in half, which highlights the considerable force it generates. While this force was put to great use in the forward propulsion of the aircraft, we cannot say the same for the exhaust produced by it. It was a challenge to manage the exhaust of the Avenger. The gun expels a significant amount of burned and unburned propellant, which poses a risk. An incident in 1978 highlighted this concern when the gun's exhaust ignited and caused oxygen deprivation in the engines. To address this issue, design adjustments were made to ensure the safe operation of the aircraft. To finally resolve the exhaust issue, a small gas scoop was initially placed beneath the barrels of the GAU-8 Avenger. This scoop was designed to suck up a portion of the exhaust, helping to address the problem. However, efforts to resolve the issue didn't end there. The propellant mix of the rounds was adjusted to increase the frequency of the flashes upon firing. While this adjustment had its benefits, it introduced new challenges. The altered chemical mix led to debris buildup on the cabin windows. To combat this, a hood washer was implemented. This washer sprayed fluid onto the hood, and the airflow did the rest by clearing away the debris. Additionally, circuitry modifications were made to the aircraft's systems. The ignition system of the engine was designed to continuously fire while the gun was being operated. This proactive measure was put in place to ensure that if a flame occurred, the engine could swiftly reignite itself, minimizing any potential disruptions. These adjustments showcase the dedication to refining the A-10 Thunderbolt II's design and performance, addressing unexpected complications to maintain operational efficiency. Devastating penetrating power of the GAU-8 Avenger. With the careful design of the aircraft that houses this gun, you can imagine how much power it will pack in itself. Since its primary role is to take down armored targets, it's all about making each shot count. One of the key components of its design is its ammunition drum. This drum, which resembles a gigantic magazine, holds those beefy 30mm rounds. The drum needs to work flawlessly to ensure that the gun can keep firing without any hitches. The feeding mechanism of the Avenger is inspired by the Gatling gun concept, and it's fascinating. This concept, dating back to the 19th century, involves multiple barrels rotating to allow continuous fire. The Avenger takes this idea and elevates it with multiple barrels, a total of 7 as already mentioned. This clever setup distributes the workload across all the barrels, reducing stress and heat buildup. This means that each barrel stays relatively cool, even with the rapid fire rate, preventing issues like warping or malfunction due to overheating. It also extends the weapon's overall lifespan. Maintaining a consistent fire rate is critical in battle, so the design must ensure there's minimal downtime between shots. Every fraction of a second counts, especially when you're dealing with armored targets that need multiple hits to take down. This quality also comes in handy when you're dealing with fast-moving targets or when you need to take down something quickly. The consistent firing speed minimizes opportunities for enemies to find gaps and counterattack effectively. When the Avenger is up and running, it creates a solid wall of firepower that's not easy to mess with. Its penetrating power is a result of combining effective munitions design and strategy, and it serves as a reminder that in the world of military technology, innovation is an ongoing effort. There are, however, some concerns about the armor-piercing shells used by the machine. These shells are unique in that they contain aluminum with a core made of depleted uranium. Depleted uranium is remarkably dense, clocking in at 19.1 gram per centimeter cubed compared to lead's 11.3 grams per centimeter cubed and iron's 7.9 per centimeter cubed. This density translates to increased kinetic energy, enhancing the round's armor-piercing capability. What sets depleted uranium apart is how it interacts with materials. It sharpens the projectile's tip upon impact. This contrasts with materials like tungsten, which, though slightly denser than uranium, tends to mushroom upon impact. Interestingly, there's a substantial amount of depleted uranium stored as uranium hexafluoride in large cylinders across the United States. They measure around 700,000 metric tons. Maintaining these reserves comes at a cost for uranium enrichment facilities, making them quite relieved when someone utilizes it for projectiles rather than storing it. We can now see that the depleted uranium is cost-effective and possesses ideal properties for armor piercing. However, its employment has been linked to elevated instances of cancer, underscoring the complexities of utilizing such materials in military applications. These are some sacrifices that have been made to ensure the Avenger's destructive power is as high as it currently is. But that's not all. The GUA-8 Avenger feeding mechanism. Beyond the tactical benefits, the Avenger's feeding mechanism has strategic value too. If an enemy knows about the Avenger's capabilities, they might think twice before sending their assets into its path. Just one ATEM aircraft equipped with a GAU-8 can make a big impact, halting advances and forcing enemies to rethink their strategies. Every part of the feeding system is made to work seamlessly, from the electric motor that drives the drum to the chamber mechanism. This coordination ensures the Avenger's efficiency in battle. However, while the GAU-8 Avenger is a force to be reckoned with, it's not a guaranteed win against all opponents, especially those who are constantly improving their weapons and defenses. One notable vulnerability is its relatively short effective range compared to other types of artillery or missile systems. The Avenger's effectiveness decreases as the target moves farther away, which can limit its impact in scenarios where engagement distances are substantial. Additionally, the machine's sheer size and weight pose challenges. The weapon system is massive and requires a dedicated aircraft like the A-10 Thunderbolt II to carry and deploy it. This limits its versatility compared to lighter portable anti-armor systems that ground troops can easily deploy. Furthermore, the Avenger's close-in nature makes it less effective against air or missile threats at longer ranges. It's primarily designed for ground-based targets and doesn't have the same versatility as dedicated anti-aircraft systems. Lastly, while its firing rate is impressive, the Avenger's rapid rate of fire also means it expends ammunition quickly. This can lead to the need for frequent resupply or limit sustained engagements. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. We can already see this mighty machine gun with its 7 barrels of anti-armor bullets. It looks cold and strong, ready to spray at any minute. In the frame beside it, we see a decimated military tank with huge bullet holes in it. It's very easy to guess that the Avenger had wreaked this havoc, turning the tank into scrap after dealing it multiple blows in quick succession. We wonder what war was being fought here. Could this have been during the Gulf War or Afghanistan War, or was it during military training? It's obvious that whatever it was, the tank was put through a harrowing experience, and anyone that was in it at the moment of impact would have met their untimely demise. This shows how deadly and powerful the Avenger is. If you know of any other occasion this machine gun had ravaged ammunition like this, let's hear it in the comments section. Factors influencing destruction. Various elements work together to influence the destructive power of the GAU-8 Avenger. The type of ammunition used matters a lot. Different rounds, like armor-piercing or high-explosive, are suited for different targets. The choice you make in this regard can drastically change the Avenger's impact. Taking adequate care of the Avenger is also crucial. Just like any complex machine, it requires regular maintenance to stay at its best. Even small issues like misalignments or wear can mess with how it works. Pilots flying A-10s with the Avenger know this. They're trained to approach targets in ways that make the most of the impact angle, ensuring maximum damage without impairing the machine. The areas the gun is targeting and their levels of protection are important as well. It's not a one-size-fits-all scenario, as different parts have different levels of defense. Tanks are a good example. While their fronts are heavily armored, their upper and rear parts might not be as tough. Recognizing these weak spots can be a game changer. You could focus on hitting the upper or rear sections in targets like this to get through. Environmental conditions like weather and altitude can mess with how the Avenger works too. Cold temperatures, for instance, can affect the propellant's burn rate in the rounds, possibly changing the speed of the projectile. Firing at higher altitudes, where the air is thinner, can affect the round's drag. Distance is also a player. The farther the Avenger's rounds have to go, the more they're affected by things like gravity and air resistance. These factors can slow them down, impacting their penetrating power. While the Avenger is a beast at close range, pilots need to keep these things in mind during longer-range fights. With all the engineering and reputation this machine gun has, we know it has had its fair share of opportunities to show what it's made of in real-world combat. It has been used in many battles, and it has made huge impacts in all of them. GAU-8 Avenger in action. The GAU-8 Avenger has seen action in a couple of notable conflicts. Its true capabilities came to light during the early days of the Gulf War in 1990. The A-10 Thunderbolt II, lovingly called the Warthog, was armed with this powerhouse as usual. It faced Saddam Hussein's armored divisions, and that's where the Avenger shone. Tanks were the target, and its 30mm rounds punched through Iraqi armored vehicles, even taking out the notorious T-72 tanks. The sound of the Avenger firing was distinct. Pilots likened it to the snarl of an angry god. This noise became a signal of imminent destruction for Iraqi forces. In the vast Iraqi desert, maneuverability was key, and the machine gun proved its anti-armor prowess time and again. A-10 pilots would glide low and slow over enemy formations, unleashing the Avenger's might. Accuracy combined with raw power ensured enemy tanks, personnel carriers, and fortified positions crumbled. Afghanistan, with its rugged terrain, was another stage where the Avenger showed its strength. Mountains often sheltered enemy forces in fortified positions, but this beastly machine was their answer, not just against armored vehicles, but against Taliban and Al-Qaeda hideouts too. It cut through rock and earth to eliminate threats. During Operation Anaconda in 2002, Avenger-equipped A-10s provided vital fire support to coalition forces in heavy Shahi-Kot Valley fighting. Beyond these main conflicts, the Avenger-equipped A-10 has been part of various other operations worldwide. Its consistent firing capability makes it a favorite among ground troops who view the aircraft and its Avenger as their guardian in heated battles, from rescues to targeted strikes on enemy convoys. The machine has beat overwhelming odds and lived up to its reputation, carving a place in military history as an unstoppable force. GAU-8 Avenger on water. You may not know this, but the legacy of the GAU-8 Avenger isn't confined to land battles alone. When you have a system with such deep capabilities, it's only natural that it evolves and expands its use. The Avenger's massive firepower and precision caught the attention of military strategists and engineers, and it prompted them to explore its potential in naval settings. The maritime adaptation of the Avenger is best exemplified by the close-in weapons system known as the Goalkeeper. Developed by Thales Nederland, this system was tailor-made for naval vessels to counter a variety of high-speed threats like missiles and aircraft. Equipped with advanced radar and infrared cameras coupled with the Avenger's firepower, the Goalkeeper can tackle supersonic anti-ship missiles, fast aircraft, and even small drones. The precision is astounding. It can take down a target as small as a soccer ball from kilometers away, even if it's moving at 3 times the speed of sound. Of course, the transition of the Avenger to naval use wasn't without challenges. Its recoil force, which is manageable in an aircraft like the A-10, required specialized shock-absorbing and mounting systems for ship decks. However, its foray into naval warfare showcases its adaptability from mowing down armored columns on land to defending naval vessels from airborne threats. Ships armed with systems like the Goalkeeper enjoy strong defense against missile attacks, thanks to the Avenger's firepower and accuracy. Yet, it's not just about the physical power. The psychological impact on naval battlefields is also significant. Just as ground troops gain confidence from its presence, naval crews find reassurance in its hum. The knowledge that a naval vessel carries a variant of the renowned Avenger rotary cannon acts as a potent deterrent in the realm of modern warfare. This adaptation reflects the changing face of conflict, with drones and high-speed missiles gaining prominence. The Avenger's move from land to sea underscores its adaptability and the trust military experts have in its capabilities. As warfare keeps evolving, systems like the Avenger will evolve too, staying at the forefront of defense technology. Surviving the GAU-8 Avenger. In the realm of warfare, survival often hinges on understanding your adversary's strengths and weaknesses. When it comes to the GAU-8 Avenger, however, the balance heavily favors the weapon itself. Facing the Avenger's fire, whether you're in an armored vehicle, a fortified structure, or out in the open, is a perilous prospect. If overpowering it isn't feasible, the smart move would be to avoid its firing line altogether. This brings speed and maneuverability to the forefront, yet outpacing the Avenger's rapid rate of fire and the vast area its rounds can cover within seconds is a challenge as well. One tactic could involve terrain manipulation, utilizing natural cover like hills, dunes, or dense forests to break the line of sight. This would complicate the targeting process for A-10 pilots. Urban environments characterized by towering buildings and narrow alleys could also provide a similar form of cover. But even seemingly robust barriers like these aren't foolproof against the Avenger's might. In the face of this devastating weapon, finding strategies to counter or evade its firepower becomes an intricate game of tactics and adaptation. Understanding its weaknesses can give the enemies or opponents an edge, allowing them to avoid its impact. But this, too, wouldn't be effective in the face of skilled pilots and available ammunition. Will the A-10 Thunderbolt II be replaced by other aircraft? Even with its track record, the A-10 has faced constant debates about whether it should be retired for some time now. People are arguing that it's not needed anymore. First, they suggested the F-16 should take over its role, and now the F-35 is being considered. Both sides also have valid arguments. The F-16 and A-10 can carry a similar amount of weapons to the battlefield. Both have 11 hard points with a load capacity of over 7 tons. However, the A-10's design, with heavy equipment on its wings, cancels out the F-16's agility and energy-saving advantage in dogfights. While the F-16 is built to be versatile, the A-10 was made to withstand hits and keep going. The comparison between the two planes doesn't tally because they were designed in different eras with different military strategies. The F-35, on the other hand, is built to carry a limited number of weapons in its internal bay to prioritize stealth. But once air superiority is established, it can match the F-16's weapon load. It's a multi-role fighter designed for modern battlefields. We know the A-10 found its niche in conflicts like Iraq and Afghanistan, where threats were lower, and it's still around because it's great at close air support and costs less to operate compared to other military planes. It has also become an iconic aircraft among soldiers because of the machine gun it carries, creating a strong connection between them and the troops it protects. Just as the A-10 was created to prepare for the future of warfare, the F-35 was developed with upcoming conflicts in mind, where threats might be more complex. For this reason, the aircraft may be replaced after further consideration, but the gait and power of the GUA-8 Avenger makes the decision harder than ever. The impact of the GUA-8 and the A-10 on warfare cannot be overemphasized. It changed the game for the U.S. military and also challenged other countries to improve their technology. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.